What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Yellow again. We back at it with another video. I got my Padre hat on because, you know, I'm a San Diego Padre fan. You know, we got a good team this season. Hate all you want, I don't care. Dodger fans, you can hate all you want. I'm friends with a lot of them too, so I already hear it, so it don't matter. We good. Anyways, as you can see back here, like you probably saw in the last video, I've been kind of rearranging my closet, so I'm trying to move things around, but these are just like stacks of sneakers I have that I haven't touched yet, or as the sneaker world will call it, they're dead stocks, so I haven't put my foot on them yet because I haven't had a time to relace them, wear them. I'm very particular with my sneakers. I like to spray them down with some proofer, so you know, and that takes a lot of work. You gotta do it outside. You want that smell going around the room, so I try to do it outside, but I mean that sometimes it's just too much work. But I refuse to wear shoes without proofing them down. Speaking of sneakers, let's segue over to what I'm here to talk about, is sneaker video content. If you guys follow me on Instagram, make sure you follow me. Let me point it. This is my Instagram. You see, I do a lot of sneaker content, so I do all the visual work, all the videos and stuff like that for Shoe Palace and Nice Kicks. How did I get into it? Relationships, going around meeting people. Let me just, even before that, let me even kind of give you guys a background of this. Like, I didn't grow up a sneakerhead. Like you saw from my last topic video, you know, I had traditionally Asian parents, like sneaker lifestyle and even fashion and all that. My parents weren't into that, so I wasn't really taught all this like material stuff, you know what I mean? Like, of course, like as a kid growing up, we go to school with other kids, especially other kids from different ethnicities, different races, and it's a melting pot of culture that I went to school with. So growing up, you know, you see other kids, you know, flashy, stylish, and I wanted to wear all those nice clothes and stuff like that too, but my parents didn't have money like that, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't grow up with money until ever, but you know, there was a point that my parents, they were doing decent. They were able to be a little well off until the 2008 recession. It just, you know, it took my parents down. So they've been able to rebuild back to, not to the way they wanted to, but you know, they're okay now, so we're good. But you know, growing up, I did love sneakers. I did love seeing like sneakers on other friends and stuff. They had all like the Jordans and they got all the Forces, even like when they're wearing Chuck Taylors and Cortezes and stuff. I wanted those too, but you know, like even at that, like those type of price points, as low as they are to us, like they weren't very cheap for my parents to buy. You know, I was wearing Payless shoes growing up, so I didn't grow up to be as materialistic as I thought I would be. But you know, I always loved sneakers. Like the Air Jordan 1 High was always my favorite sneaker outside of Chucks and Cortezes. So like my favorite Jordan is the Jordan 1 High, and then you know, and I love the Jordan 3 and the Jordan 10 and the 11, the 5, but because of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, at a young age, I just knew not to beg and ask for my mom to buy me these type of sneakers, because she would never even come close to buy me anything anywhere even near $70 for a pair of shoes. You know, I just kind of I'm gonna wait till whenever I get out of school. I honestly didn't buy my first pair of Jordans until maybe 3 years after high school. I bought a Jordan 1 High off of eBay, and it was from the love-hate pack, the original one, and it was the yellow pair, because you know, I was also known as the yellow one, and that was a yellow one. That joke. I thought it was a dope sneaker to get as a first sneaker, so I had my hands on those. I actually still have them. They're kind of a little beat up, but I still have that Jordan 1 pair. But even at that, I didn't grow into being a big sneakerhead, because by the time I got to high school and I started going to school and college, I was already just rocking Vans and stuff like that. So I wasn't like buying heavy big sneakers. And then I think my mind was just so focused on school and extracurricular activities outside of school, my career, that I just didn't have a chance to like start falling in love with the sneaker world again. And I'm not gonna lie, I did buy 2 pairs of Nike Dunk SBs throughout college, but I think they were fake. So you know, back then I wasn't a big like, oh, these are fake or these are real. I didn't know, you know what I mean? But I just wasn't able to have the time to be able to grow the love for them. It didn't take till like maybe later on throughout my 20s to where like I started to grow and really like sneakers more and more, and it got to there. But back to this about me filming sneakers and stuff like that. I wasn't in the sneaker world. I wasn't in the sneaker culture. I wasn't around the sneaker circles of people. I didn't know who would be part of the sneaker world. My focus was on filmmaking. When my relationships with people got me to the eyes of Shoe Palace and they saw my work, you know, like as a filmmaker, like especially if you're shooting content or shooting spec commercials and stuff like that. I've never shot sneaker stuff in my life. Like honestly, I haven't shot food stuff in my life. And I started shooting sandwiches for Fat Sal's, and I was never a food filmmaker or whatever. But the thing is, if you're a good filmmaker, you have a good eye, you can make everything look good. I can make a pile of look cinematic if need to be. You know, I think any one of us that's a very seasoned filmmaker, we know how to make any product look good and kind of throw creative ideas to make it look good. So with me doing sneakers, I've been working in the hip hop world, so sneaker culture and streetwear is a big thing in the hip hop world. So I know a certain aspect of the hip hop culture that ties into sneakers. So to me, shooting a sneaker differently than other people was not a hard thing at all. But you know, sometimes doing the sneaker stuff, like depending on brands or retailers or whatever, things pop up last minute. So you gotta know how to shoot on the go, or something needs to get done, but something needs to get creative. You gotta prepare yourself to do that, because just like in like music videos or doing guerrilla shooting, like there's times that we're doing stuff like that now. And that type of filmmaking is growing more and more in this sneaker culture, even outside of here. Like doing quick, fast content that takes like a one-man band thing is starting to grow because more people are doing it. It's cheaper, and you know, the content can still be good too if you can make the content as best as possible. The dope thing about sneakers is that a lot of these sneakers, especially different colorways or different silhouettes and stuff, they all have a story to them. And there's, you know, every sneaker nowadays has its own name to it, and there's always a story behind the name, or you can create something off of that name because there's always a history behind that name of the type of sneaker it is. So you always want to be able to create something around the history of that sneaker, the history of that colorway, the history of the name of the sneaker, or something, details and stuff like that, where you can create some dope content with it. It's usually easier that way, but sometimes if it's just a classic regular sneaker, it can be hard and it can be easy to come up with something. It just depends on what you come up with, you know what I mean? Like, but like I said, every sneaker has a history behind it. You'll probably be able to figure out what different stories you can find. You know, the internet is our best friend, so you can do all your research you want on these different sneakers to create something dope. You know, like with me, it just depends on the timeline of when we need things done when I'm doing some of the sneaker content. Sometimes we get the sneaker months in advance, so we have time to plan something really dope and be able to come up with a dope concept and be able to execute, having all the time in the world to make something great. But then there's also times where we get something that pops up last minute and it's like we need to shoot something. It still has to be cool too, because sometimes you won't have the time to create a dope story around it, so maybe you have to be creative with how you shoot it and do some creative shots that will entail to how you shoot this video. For me, shooting sneaker content, it's a blessing in disguise, because I've always wanted to shoot for brands like Nike and Adidas and stuff like that. You know, like Nike has always made some dope commercials throughout their years, and they continue to strive to do that, and they always tell a story, especially, and a lot of other brands are following in the same steps as they are too, to doing that. And I love the way that they make you feel something when you watch it sometimes. And I know working with Shoe Palace, they always want me to make them feel something too. But you know, sometimes when you're getting very strict deadlines where it's like you just don't have the time to, or the work is getting overloaded where you have to do 10 things at once, like you're not able to sit down and create what you want to create. And then another thing about with me doing this, it's like every filmmaker, every photographer, every person behind the camera, they have their own style. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's a so-and-so style, that's a yellow style, or that's a this person's style. Like, that's why all their content looks like that. With me doing this, it's like I have to kind of not always use my style, and I have to transition and do other styles or figure out how to do other styles. And sometimes like trying to do other styles and having the time to be able to come up with something can be very exhausting to try to figure out, because like you're always on the go with deadlines. So sometimes you just don't have the time to be able to be as creative as you want to, because you have to think of 10 different things at once instead of just focusing on one thing. But you know, for me, I think as much work goes into creating this stuff and doing everything for a retailer, it also helps me as a filmmaker too to know how to handle this type of high volume environment, to be able to come up with something and changing it up or switching it up and figuring out how to do styles that other people do and just execute as best as possible. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss, but I try to hit as best as possible and knock out the park. I know I've had a few misses, but gonna have to just brush it off and keep going and moving on to the next thing and getting it done, because in the true filmmaker's world, this isn't the ideal type of production that you'd want to do, especially being a one-man band. But I mean, if you're able to execute and do this as a one-man person, imagine having this type of skill and being able to have a budget and being able to have time to create something big and seeing what you can do with that. I'll guarantee that you'll be able to create some greatness out of that. But you know what, like, I've met a lot of great people in the sneaker world, and you know, I've learned a lot. I've learned more about the sneaker culture because of it, and I feel like now I'm kind of a part of the sneaker culture as well. And whenever I step away from this culture to, you know, truly go fulfill my dream as a feature film director, you know, I'll always have love and I'll always show my support to the people in the sneaker culture that are really about the culture and not about the resale culture and the hype culture, but really about the culture, the history, and really loving wearing your sneakers rather than holding on to them to resell. I hold on to certain sneakers because of keepsake, and you know, sometimes I just, you know, they're just so nice I don't even want to put them on. But I'm not the type that resells like a lot of other people do, and I think once I step away, my plugs to get sneakers I want to be a little bit harder. But you know, hopefully by then I'll have all the money in the world. I could just hit up StockX and just buy it and not even look at the price. But we'll see one of these days. But creating sneaker content isn't hard when you know what to do. Be able to plan, have time, just like any other shoot. Have time, be able to create it by identifying your product and learning about it, learning the history, and maybe create something around it. And that's practically it. Like there's a story behind everything. So make sure you do your research and execute well. All right. But yeah, that's it. Any questions and comments, leave them down below. Just comment, like, subscribe, dislike, I don't care. Make sure you hit the notification button so anytime I have a new video, you could be the first one to see it. I try to send it out to any of the subscribers that are following me for this new content now. So let's keep the ball rolling, let's keep going. But other than that, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.